Hi there, everyone. And I don't know about you, but I think the puzzles help to wake everyone up a little bit. Get your brain cells ticking over. Some of you are new today and some came last time. But the topic I've been asked to talk about is like for time-challenged folks such as yourselves who have many things to accomplish in life, how can you also get lots of merits in your life in a way that is savvy and streetwise and doesn't eat into time which you need for other important things in your life? And thinking about it, there are quite a lot of these. So I started last week with this lot, like meditating with a goal in mind rather than just meditating to get it over with. We talked about joining the ceremony for offering sustenance to the Buddhas in Nirvana once a month, keeping a minimum of 5 precepts, avoiding the roads to ruin where possible, which for your relevant to you lot probably would mean things like gambling or lotteries, doing chanting daily, and also preparing yourself for when you must leave this world, which I guess no one hopes it's going to be very soon, but knowing the tricks that come especially from your meditation, such as meditating the point where you can see the diamond bright sphere inside yourself or attain the body of enlightenment inside yourself, as a good preparation. And also it will help you to let go before you need to get dragged from this world. And also things like knowing about the temple in Thailand, to go 3 times around the pagoda before you leave this world for the final time. So that's what I talked about last time. And the list for today, the shopping list, which is a sort of continuation of last time, which I like to talk today, has got another 5 or 6, which I would like to add to this. Also important things where you can really emphasize the things that are important and will give the maximum of merits for you, instead of just giving up and saying, oh, it's just too much, I can't do all of those, I just like do what I can manage. Well, you can be a little bit more picky and choose the ones which will get the maximum of merits for you. So here we go. I don't think any of you are out there getting money yet, except maybe from a paper round perhaps, but certainly you're planning for what sort of things which you would do later on in your life. You must have some idea what you're good at and what might be a way to earn your living in the future in order to support yourself and not to be a burden on the state or on your parents. Then how can you choose a career which is not only going to earn lots of money for you, but also do it in a way that doesn't compromise your conscience? And some advice in this are, there are 5 things in Buddhism which are traits which you should definitely try to avoid, which are being someone who sells anything to do with human trafficking, weapons, and that's quite hard to do these days in America, selling live animals to the butchers, selling liquor, or selling poisons of the sort you might use to assassinate people. I'm sure there's people selling those there, and make sure you don't get involved with that sort of career. So in the olden days, in the time of the Buddha, then those were the 5 things which the Buddha mentioned particularly to avoid, even though you might get a good income from those, but the income you get is on the backs of the suffering of other people. So apart from that, I would say that you have a pretty wide choice in the career field, but in every sort of job out there, you need to be aware of the loopholes which might compromise your conscience and lead you to damage your own reputation and damage your own karmic future. in the public sector, especially in countries like Thailand, there's a lot of problems with corruption. So that's the sort of thing, even though being an important functionary in the city council or even in politics might seem like a good idea, but you need to be the sort of person who can not give in to the temptation of things like corruption, like accepting bribes for favors, that sort of thing. That is the difficulty there. In the military, it looked pretty good. It seems to be the only employer that is giving people like a lifetime job these days. So it's pretty attractive. A lot of kids, they like to accept a scholarship from the army in order to get them through college and so on. It's very attractive, but you also should be aware that you might need to go out and shoot people dead. So that's like bad karma. And not only that, they might shoot you dead as well. So in that case, you waste your scholarship. So on that side of things, you need to read the small print to make sure that what you're really getting doesn't compromise your sense of compassion for your fellow human beings. Doctors and nurses, also a very good thing to aim for. Beware, though, if you are not a very good doctor, everyone you treat, they sort of curl up and die. Not good karma either. So if you're going to be a doctor or a nurse, make sure you are a good one. And if you are, then sadhu, and that's a good way to go. Even in trade, some people sell things which are above board, but they cheat their customers. They do things like weigh down their scales in their stores so that they charge too much for items, that sort of thing. And some customers are the same. They cheat the store owners. So all of these things are ways which you should be aware of to avoid, so that you are allowed to make a profit in life, but it should be what's known as a fair profit. So think about that carefully, especially if you're choosing your own career options. Next one, I'll go very quickly today. Chanting Dhammakaya is something everyone in the temple likes to encourage. On Salha Puja Day, I gave a little talk about this, and if you're really interested in more detail about some of the miraculous things that happen to people who chanted Dhammakaya, then you can look at that. It also has some links on it for the book by the Venerable Tachiwo about the Buddha's first teaching, and also about the app which you can use to count the number of times or the speed with which you chant Dhammakaya, so that you can get merit in your lives as well. But in the olden days, they used to say you can tell a proper Buddhist by the fact that they can remember Dhammakaya chanting by heart. Moving on. Looking after your parents, you might think, hey, aren't they supposed to look after me? Well, it is supposed to be a two-way street. So they look after you now, but there's some hope and in their mind that when they come to their old age, you might look in and help them, not just say, bye, I'm off now. I didn't ask to be born. So 5 ways which the Buddha recommends to look after parents is repay your debt of gratitude to your parents. That doesn't just mean, oh, well, my parents looked after me for 15 years. So once my 15 years of looking after them is up, I'm not going to help them anymore. You can carry on their good works when they are gone or they are retired. So if you think about the family business, that might be a way to go. Keep up the honor and good reputation of the family. So that means making sure that you are trustworthy and you maintain the trust of your own family and parents. There's this thing about passing on the legacy from the parents to the children, which still happens if the taxman doesn't get all of it first. And even in the ancient times, there's a degree to which you need to make yourself worthy of that. And not just, oh, I'm going to suck up to my parents so they give me all their money, but to make yourself trustworthy. And it's up to parents to see that and think, who best would I lead my legacy with? Last but not least, even if your parents pass away, then that's not the end of the story, because after a person passes away, then they cannot cultivate any new merits for themselves, so they are reliant to keep them in their heavenly abode on all the merits which people dedicate to them, maybe their children or grandchildren or friends who continue to do memorial events and offer things to monks on behalf of them who are still alive in the human realm. So 5 duties, which I would hope you would see as also some of the essential things to cultivate to keep yourself on the straight and narrow. Participating in major merit ceremonies, and I realize now that last time I didn't mention the full moons, but there's a selection of ceremonies which you consider like major ceremonies. Most of them come from our main temple in Thailand, which is seen to be a big merit generator. Last time we talked about the first Sunday of the month, and that happens sometimes on the first Saturday of the month, or sometimes the last Saturday of the month before the first of the month to come. We do that in all of our branches, and even online you can join with that. Katina ceremony is not just once a year, but in fact many temples around the world have their own Katina ceremony too. You should try to make sure you contribute to that at least once in your life. Makapuja ceremony, where there's a circumambulation of the pagoda or the Buddha statue with candle lights, which usually comes in February. And then this is for Vesak Day, the almsgiving. I'm sure these days they'd all be wearing a lot of masks and spaced out a little bit more. And apart from that, every full moon day is considered to be a big opportunity for merits, because if you do merits, especially for loved ones of yours who have passed away, then the merit is said to be able to go deeper into wherever they may have been reborn in order to help them in their afterlife, only special promotion on a full moon day. Some of these events like Makapuja, Vesak Day are already on the full moon days, but otherwise they're called One Phra or Poya Day if you're into the Sri Lankan way of describing it. And that's also a time when Buddhists tend to gather together, especially to make merits as well. Making daily resolution. Sometimes we do merits, but we don't really think about how to channel that merit into things which are important for us in life. In the old days, I thought, well, karma should have its own result, and what's the point of making a wish? Because like the karma is going to come to you anyway, right? But the karma can come to you sometimes in a default way, in a way that's not very well focused into the things that are important for you in life. So each day you should think back over the merits which you have. It doesn't cost anything, it's for free. And you should channel those merits into things which are important for you in life, like, for example, getting a good job, which is in keeping with your conscience, or doing well in your studies, that sort of thing. And also in our temple, they have like standard, what's known as a daily resolution. Sometimes we chant it all together, but it's interesting because it covers all the main points. Here's one example of the standardized one, which you see in all the English chanting books. This is like a sample of the start of it. You know, may all the good deeds from my day to day, through the grace of whatever, okay, help me to break free of samsara, okay? Usually it ends up with go to nirvana and break free of samsara. The most special one we have in our temple goes a little bit into more detail, but what I'd like to point out here is the Dusitburi part, which is, even though I come to the end of my life this lifetime, but may I go to the 4th level of heaven, which is called Dusita or Dusitburi. It's not a hotel in Bangkok, it is a heaven realm. And it said that if we make merits and make a wish every day, then it will up our chances. So we had against all odds just now, it will up our chances to go to the 4th level of heaven, where we have more control about when and where we come back next time round. Go on too long today. 5 characteristics, finally, of being a good Buddhist, if that's what you are aspiring to be. This was recommended by the Buddha way back in the time when he was alive. And first of all, you should be endowed with faith, which may sound a little bit sort of belongs to another religion, but it means especially trusting or having confidence in the law of karma and in the fact that the Buddha truly became enlightened. So if we haven't got there yet, then we try to work on that or study more so to get the information we need to lead in that direction. Having good conduct, especially by keeping the 5 precepts, not believing in superstitions and luck rather than karma, and also not seeking a field of merit outside Buddhism, which means even though we might have our favorite charities, but we also give support to the Buddhist infrastructure and Buddhist community to help to keep that going. Because if we don't, then who will? You know, after our grandparents or our parents are dead and gone, you know, who's going to make sure that Buddhism still continues? And giving charitable support primarily to Buddhism doesn't mean that you can't give support to other things, but it means that the field of merit, which multiplies and magnifies the merits arising because of the purity of the recipient, should be something which you give particular importance to if you are an excellent lay disciple. So at this point, I think I will invite you all to do a little bit of meditation together.